At the Women's Leadership Summit, where my best friend of 27 years was receiving the Humanitarian of the Year award, she gave a heartfelt speech about loyalty and friendship. Then she announced to the 300 guests that I had been embezzling from our shared charity foundation. She had security waiting to escort me out. What she didn't know was that I had been recording everything for the past 6 weeks, and the FBI was already investigating her for fraud. I stood up, took the microphone, and played a recording that made the entire ballroom go silent. But let me back up. 6 weeks earlier, I woke up at 2 a.m. to the sound of my husband's voice downstairs. Michael was supposed to be in New York on business, but there he was in our kitchen in Lincoln Park, whispering urgently into his phone. I crept to the top of the stairs, my heart pounding. Through the wooden banister rails, I could see him pacing back and forth, still in his suit. "Monica, we can't keep doing this," he said in a low voice. "Kathy's going to figure it out eventually." Monica. My best friend Monica, the woman I'd known since business school at Northwestern, the woman who'd held my hand through 2 miscarriages, the woman I'd invested $500,000 with to start our nonprofit supporting women entrepreneurs. "Richard agrees with me," Michael continued. "We need to move faster. The summit is in 6 weeks. If we don't act before then, she'll have time to audit the books." I felt the floor tilt beneath me. What were they planning? I know, Michael said, his voice tight with stress. "But if we do this right, the foundation's assets transfer to you as the surviving board member, and Kathy. Well, Kathy won't be in any position to fight it." The surviving board member. Those words echoed in my skull. What did that mean? He hung up and headed toward the stairs. I scrambled back to our bedroom, diving under the covers just as his footsteps reached the landing. He came in quietly, undressed in the dark, and slid into bed beside me. I could smell Monica's perfume on his jacket, that distinctive lavender scent I'd helped her choose 3 years ago. My husband, and my best friend. The next morning, I acted normal. 28 years of marriage had taught me how to hide my feelings when necessary. Michael kissed me goodbye, said something about meetings all day, and left for the office. He ran his own investment firm in the Loop, and I ran Morrison Consulting Group, the business advisory firm I'd built from scratch 15 years ago. I poured myself coffee and sat at our kitchen island, staring at my phone. I needed proof. I needed to understand what was happening before I reacted. At 9, Monica called. Her face filled my phone screen, that familiar warm smile I'd trusted for nearly 3 decades. "Kathy, are you ready for today's foundation meeting?" she asked brightly. We had a board meeting scheduled for 10, just the 2 of us, as it had always been. "Of course," I said, matching her cheerful tone. "See you at the office." The foundation office was in River North, a small but elegant space we'd leased 2 years ago. When I arrived, Monica was already there, looking polished in a designer pantsuit. She'd always had expensive taste, which was ironic, given that her husband Richard's dental practice had been struggling for years. I'd been helping them financially, actually. Small loans here and there that they never seemed to repay. "Coffee?" she offered, gesturing to the Nespresso machine. "Sure, thanks." As she made the drinks, I watched her carefully. She seemed nervous, fumbling with the cups, avoiding my eyes. We'd been friends for so long I could read her moods like a book. Something was definitely wrong. "So," she said, sitting across from me, "I've been thinking about the summit. With you receiving the leadership award this year, we should make sure everything is absolutely perfect with the foundation's finances." "Wait, I wasn't receiving the award. Monica was." "What do you mean?" I asked carefully. "You're the one getting the humanitarian award." She blinked, confusion crossing her face for just a second before she recovered. "Right, yes, of course. I meant that since I'm being honored, we should make sure you're comfortable with how the books look. You know, in case any reporters want to dig into our work." There it was, a slip. She'd thought I was the one being honored. Why would that matter unless they were planning to destroy my reputation at the summit? "Makes sense," I said smoothly. "Why don't we go through everything today? I'd love to review all the accounts." Her eyes widened slightly. "Oh, that's not necessary. I actually have the accountant preparing a full report for the summit. We can review it then." "I'd prefer to see it now," I pressed gently. "After all, I'm co-founder. I should know where every dollar is." Monica's smile tightened. "Kathy, don't you trust me? We've been doing this for 2 years. Everything is fine. Trust. The word landed between us like a stone. Of course I trust you, I lied. I just want to be thorough. Well, I actually have to run, she said abruptly, standing up. Hair appointment. But we'll catch up soon, okay? Maybe dinner with Michael and Richard this weekend? After she left, I sat in the silent office and pulled up our foundation's bank accounts on my laptop. My hands were shaking. I had full access as co-founder, though Monica had been handling the day-to-day transactions. What I saw made my blood run cold. Over the past 6 months, there had been dozens of transfers, small amounts at first, 500 here, 1,000 there. But in the last 2 months, larger sums, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, all going to an account I didn't recognize. I traced the account number through our bank records. It was registered to RJM Consulting. I'd never heard of it. I ran a quick Google search. Nothing came up. It was a shell company. My phone buzzed. A text from my daughter Emma, who was finishing her MBA at Stanford. Mom, tried to call. Just checking in. Love you. Emma. She was 26, brilliant, ambitious. Everything I'd hoped she'd be. She didn't know that her father and I had been growing distant over the past year. She didn't know that he'd been working late more and more often. She didn't know that I'd found hotel receipts in his pocket 2 months ago that he'd explained away as client meetings. I'd believed him then. I'd wanted to believe him. Now I wondered how long this had been going on. I called my attorney, James Chen. We'd gone to Northwestern together too. He'd handled all my business contracts for 15 years. Kathy, good to hear from you, he said when he picked up. What's going on? James, I need your help. Confidentially. I think someone is stealing from the foundation, and I think my husband might be involved. There was a pause. Come to my office. Today. Don't tell anyone. An hour later, I was sitting in James's corner office overlooking Michigan Avenue, showing him everything I'd found. He studied the bank records, his expression growing darker. Kathy, this is serious. If these transfers are unauthorized, we're looking at fraud, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. What do I do? First, we need to secure evidence. I'm going to recommend you hire a forensic accountant. Second, don't confront anyone yet. If they know you're onto them, they might destroy records or move money offshore. Third, he hesitated. You might want to consider that this goes deeper than theft. What do you mean? If your husband and Monica are working together, they might be planning something bigger. Why would they need to frame you for embezzlement at the summit? I thought about what Michael had said on the phone. The surviving board member. They want me out of the way, I said quietly. If I'm arrested for fraud, Monica gets control of the foundation and all its assets. If I'm discredited, my business suffers. Maybe my marriage ends. They get everything. James nodded grimly. And if they're having an affair, which seems likely, they might be planning a future together. On your dime. I felt sick. But underneath the nausea was something else. Anger. Cold, calculating anger. How do I stop them? We gather evidence. We build an airtight case. And then we let them walk right into their own trap. Over the next 2 weeks, I became someone I didn't recognize. I hired a private investigator. I installed recording apps on my phone. I pretended everything was normal while documenting every lie. The PI, a former FBI agent named Sarah Torres, was worth every penny. Within 3 days, she had photos. Michael and Monica meeting at the Peninsula Hotel. Holding hands over dinner at a restaurant in Evanston, far from anyone we knew. Kissing in his car outside her house while her husband Richard was at work. How long do you think this has been going on? I asked Sarah, staring at the photos in her office. Based on their comfort level? At least a year. Maybe longer. A year. I thought about all the times Monica had come to me with problems. Marriage troubles with Richard. Financial stress. I'd listened. I'd given advice. I'd loaned them money. And all along she'd been sleeping with my husband. There's more, Sarah said, pulling up bank records on her screen. RJM Consulting? The shell company receiving the foundation transfers? It's registered to Richard J. Morrison. Morrison. Monica's married name. Richard knows? More than that. He's the one who set up the shell company. This is a three-person operation. Monica and Michael are having an affair, but Richard's in on the financial scheme. My guess? They offered him a cut to play along and keep quiet. So Richard was sacrificing his pride for money. He'd rather be a cuckold with cash than a man with dignity. The forensic accountant James hired, a sharp woman named Dr. Patricia Lee, gave me the full picture. Over 18 months, nearly $800,000 had been siphoned from the foundation, all of it going to the RJM account. From there, it had been transferred to various personal accounts and investments. They were smart about it, Patricia said. Small amounts at first, buried in legitimate expenses, but they got greedy. The recent transfers are too large, too frequent. They're planning something big. The summit, I said. They're going to accuse me of embezzlement at the summit, in front of everyone. Monica gets the award, gets sympathy, gets control of everything. I get arrested. Michael divorces me. They run off together with my money. Patricia nodded. That would be my guess. We need to move fast. Have you thought about going to the police? I want to, I said. But I want them to confess first. I want everyone to know the truth. James frowned. Kathy, that's risky. If they suspect anything, they won't. I've been playing the oblivious wife and friend perfectly. Let me see this through. What I didn't tell James was that I'd already contacted an old friend from business school who now worked at the FBI's white-collar crime division. Special Agent David Kwan had been very interested in my evidence. Very interested indeed. If you can get them on tape admitting to fraud, we can make arrests immediately, he'd said. But Kathy, please be careful. Cornered criminals do unpredictable things. So I started wearing a wire. Not every day, but when I knew I'd be around Michael or Monica. The recordings were damning. Michael, in our bedroom. Monica says Kathy's been asking questions about the foundation accounts. We might need to move the summit accusation up. Monica, at lunch. Richard's getting nervous. He thinks Kathy suspects something, but I've known her for almost 30 years. She's brilliant with business but clueless about people. She has no idea. Richard, when I ran into him at their house. Kathy, I just want you to know that whatever happens, I've always thought you were a good friend to us. Monica's lucky to have you. The lies were everywhere. They'd contaminated every relationship I had. The worst part? My husband would come home every night, kiss me, ask about my day, and sleep beside me, all while planning my destruction. 3 weeks before the summit, Monica invited me to her house for what she called a foundation strategy session. When I arrived, Richard was there too, sitting in their living room with financial documents spread across the coffee table. Kathy, Monica embraced me. Thanks for coming. We wanted to run through the summit presentation together. I sat down, my phone recording everything in my pocket. So here's what we're thinking, Monica began, her voice bright and professional. At the gala, after I receive the award, I'll give a speech thanking you for your partnership. Then we'll present the foundation's impact numbers. 300 women entrepreneurs funded, 5 million in grants distributed, success stories from every state. Sounds perfect, I said. There's just one thing, Richard interjected, his voice serious. We've been doing some accounting review, and there are some discrepancies. My heart raced, but I kept my face neutral. What kind of discrepancies? Monica looked uncomfortable. Kathy, I hate to even bring this up, but there are some transfers that we can't account for, large amounts, and they seem to trace back to your access codes. There it was, the accusation. That's impossible, I said, letting shock and hurt color my voice. I haven't made any unauthorized transfers. Everything I've done has been approved by both of us. We know, Monica soothed. And we believe you. But we need to figure out what happened before someone else notices. Maybe your accounts were hacked? Identity theft? Or, Richard said carefully, maybe there's an explanation we're not seeing. They were giving me an out. Admit to the theft, claim it was a mistake or a hack, and they'd help me cover it up. In exchange, I'd owe them. I'd be under their control forever. Let me look into it, I said finally. I'll check with my bank, review all my transactions. There has to be an explanation. That's good, Monica said, relief flooding her face. I knew you'd want to clear this up. We're friends, Kathy. We protect each other. I left their house with enough evidence to bury them all. That night, Michael came home late again. I was in bed, pretending to read. "How was your day?" he asked, loosening his tie. "Fine. Had coffee with Monica. We're planning the summit presentation." He froze for just a second. "That's great. Monica's been working so hard on the foundation. She deserves that award." "She does," I agreed. 27 years of friendship. She's like a sister to me." Michael looked away. I saw guilt flicker across his face, quickly suppressed. Did he feel anything? Any remorse at all? "Michael," I said softly, "can I ask you something?" "Sure. Are you happy? With us? With our marriage?" He sat on the edge of the bed, his back to me. "Why are you asking that?" I feel like we've been distant lately, like something's changed. We've been married 28 years, Kathy. Things change, but I'm committed to you, to our family. You know that." "Lies, all lies." "Good," I said, "because I couldn't imagine my life without you." The irony was, I could imagine it now, very clearly. And in that imagined future, I was free. 1 week before the summit, I met with Special Agent Kwan and his team at the FBI field office. "We have enough for arrests," he said, reviewing my evidence. "Wire fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. All 3 of them are going down." "But not yet," I said. "I want them to do it. I want them to make the accusation publicly, and then I want to prove them wrong in front of everyone." "Mrs. Morrison, I understand your desire for vindication, but—" "Please," I interrupted. "They've destroyed my trust, my marriage, my friendship. Let me have this. Let me expose them the way they plan to expose me." Agent Kwan exchanged glances with his colleagues. "We'll have agents at the summit, plain clothes. The moment you give us the signal, we move in. But Kathy, if you feel unsafe at any point, you get out. Understood?" "Understood." The morning of the summit, I stood in my closet, choosing what to wear. Emma had flown in from Stanford the night before, excited to watch her mother's best friend receive such a prestigious award. She didn't know anything was wrong. I wanted to keep it that way until it was over. I chose a deep blue dress, elegant and professional. In my purse, I packed a small thumb drive containing all the evidence: bank records, audio recordings, witness statements, forensic reports, everything. Michael came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. "You look beautiful." I stiffened at his touch but forced myself to relax. "Thank you. I'm proud of you," he said. "Everything you've built, the business, the foundation, our family, you're amazing." I turned to face him. "Michael, do you remember when we met? At that terrible grad school mixer where they ran out of beer?" He smiled. "You were arguing with the bartender about wine choices. You thought I was insufferable. I thought you were fascinating. I still do." I studied his face. The face I'd loved for 3 decades. When had he become a stranger? "I love you," I said. It wasn't a lie. I did love him, or I loved who I'd thought he was. Maybe that was the same thing. "I love you too," he replied. And that was a lie. The Women's Leadership Summit was held at the Four Seasons on Michigan Avenue. 300 of Chicago's most influential women packed the ballroom. Business owners, politicians, nonprofit leaders, journalists, people I'd worked with, competed against, respected. Emma sat beside me at our table, radiant in a red dress. My daughter, my one true success. "Mom, are you okay?" she whispered. "You seem tense." "Just emotional," I said, "watching Monica get this award after everything we've built together." Monica was at the head table with the other honorees. She looked stunning in a white gown, her hair professionally styled, her makeup perfect. She waved at me, and I waved back. Michael sat on my other side, checking his phone. Richard was at a table near the back with some of Monica's dental practice colleagues, the 3 conspirators, all in their positions. Around the ballroom's perimeter, I spotted the FBI agents. Sarah Torres was near the bar. Agent Kwan was by the exit, others scattered throughout the crowd, all waiting for my signal. The summit chairwoman, Margaret Kellerman, took the microphone. She was 70, a legend in Chicago business circles, someone who'd mentored me when I started my consulting firm. "Good evening, everyone. Tonight we celebrate women who have made extraordinary contributions to our community. Our Humanitarian of the Year award goes to someone who has dedicated herself to lifting up other women entrepreneurs. She went through Monica's accomplishments, the foundation we'd built, the women we'd helped. All true, all real. Monica had done good work. That's what made this betrayal so incomprehensible. Monica took the stage to thunderous applause. She stood at the podium, poised and grateful. "Thank you so much for this incredible honor," she began. "When Kathy Morrison and I started this foundation 2 years ago, we had a simple mission: help women entrepreneurs succeed. My dear friend Kathy, would you stand up?" I stood. The spotlight found me. 300 faces turned my direction, smiling, applauding. "Kathy and I have been friends for 27 years, Monica continued. "We've been through everything together. Marriages, career challenges, personal losses. She's been like a sister to me." I sat back down, my heart pounding. Emma squeezed my hand. "Which is why what I'm about to say breaks my heart," Monica said, her voice suddenly somber. "In the past few months, our accountant discovered significant financial irregularities in the foundation. Money has gone missing, large amounts, and the trail leads to—" She paused, as if gathering courage. "The trail leads to my co-founder." Gasps rippled through the ballroom. Emma's hand tightened on mine. Michael shifted in his seat. "I didn't want to believe it," Monica continued, tears in her eyes now. "I've struggled with this, but I have a responsibility to the women we serve. I cannot let fraud go unreported, even when it's committed by someone I love." Margaret Kellerman stood up, her face shocked. "Monica, are you making an accusation?" "I am," Monica said firmly. "Catherine Morrison has embezzled nearly $800,000 from our foundation. I have documentation. I've reported it to authorities. And while it breaks my heart, I believe she needs to be held accountable." The ballroom exploded, 300 voices talking at once. Emma stood up, her face furious. "That's a lie. My mother would never." "It's okay, Emma," I said quietly. "Sit down." Security guards started moving toward our table. This was the plan. They'd escort me out, possibly arrest me right here. Maximum humiliation. But I wasn't playing their game anymore. I stood up and walked toward the stage. Monica looked confused for a moment, then triumphant. She thought I was going to break down, to beg, to plead my innocence in a way that would make me look guilty. Instead, I smiled. "May I have the microphone?" I asked Margaret. "Kathy, I think you should let your attorney handle this," Margaret said gently. "I don't need an attorney," I said, "because everything Monica just said is a lie." I took the microphone. Monica tried to object, but I'd already begun speaking. 27 years of friendship," I said, my voice carrying through the silent ballroom. "That's what Monica just talked about. And she's right. We have been through everything together. I trusted her with my money, my business, my secrets. I trusted her when she said she needed financial help, when she said her marriage was struggling, when she said she loved her husband. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the ballroom's audio system. The technical crew looked confused but didn't stop me. But here's what I learned 6 weeks ago. I pressed play. Michael's voice filled the ballroom. "Monica, we can't keep doing this. Kathy's going to figure it out eventually." Then Monica's voice. "We need to move faster. The summit is in 6 weeks." The color drained from Monica's face. Michael stood up from our table, looking around frantically for an exit. I played more clips. Their conversations about the affair, about stealing foundation money, about framing me, about running away together once I was destroyed. 300 women listened in absolute silence. When the recordings finished, I looked directly at Monica. "You were right about one thing. The trail does lead to someone. It leads to you, and to my husband, and to your husband. The 3 of you have been embezzling from our foundation for 18 months. You set up a shell company called RJM Consulting. You used my access codes, which you stole from my home computer last year when you house sat for us, and you plan to frame me tonight, in front of everyone, to cover your tracks." That's not Monica started, but I cut her off. "I have bank records, audio recordings, video surveillance, witness statements, and a forensic accounting report that traces every stolen dollar to your accounts." I pulled the thumb drive from my purse and held it up. "It's all here, and it's all been provided to the FBI." That was the signal. Special Agent Kwan and 6 other agents moved through the ballroom. 3 of them reached the stage. Others converged on Michael and Richard. "Monica Hartwell, you're under arrest for wire fraud and embezzlement," Agent Kwan said, pulling out handcuffs. Monica's legs gave out. She collapsed to her knees on stage, sobbing. "Kathy, please, please, I can explain. We needed the money. Richard's practice was failing. We were going to lose everything." "So you decided to take mine?" I said coldly. "Did you ever care about me at all? Any of it? Or was I just a resource to exploit?" She didn't answer. She couldn't. At our table, Michael was being handcuffed. Emma stood nearby, her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Not for him, for me. Richard was trying to run, but agents caught him at the door. I turned back to the microphone, to the 300 stunned women watching this unfold. "I'm sorry," I said. "This was supposed to be a celebration. But I couldn't let the truth stay hidden. The foundation's money will be recovered. Every penny will go back to supporting women entrepreneurs, as intended. And I promise you, I will continue that mission, because helping women succeed is what I believe in, even when women betray me." Margaret Kellerman came to stand beside me. She took my hand. "You're the strongest woman I know," she said softly. As security escorted Monica, Michael, and Richard out of the ballroom, the room remained silent. Then, slowly, someone started clapping. Then another. Then another. Within seconds, 300 women were on their feet, applauding. Not for Monica. For me. Emma pushed through the crowd and threw her arms around me. "Mom, I'm so sorry, Dad. How could he?" "I don't know, honey. I really don't know." The next 3 months were a blur. Criminal trials. Divorce proceedings. Therapy sessions. Emma took a semester off from Stanford to be with me, which I didn't want but needed desperately. Michael pleaded guilty to fraud and conspiracy. He got 5 years in federal prison. Monica got 7 because she'd been the primary architect. Richard got 3 because he'd cooperated with prosecutors. The foundation's money was recovered. Most of it. 600,000 of the 800. The rest had been spent on hotel rooms, gifts, and Monica's gambling addiction that I'd never known about. I shut down the foundation. I couldn't continue it without Monica. Too many memories. But I started something new. A consulting firm specifically for women going through divorce or business betrayal, teaching them how to protect their assets, recognize red flags, document evidence, and rebuild their lives. It was wildly successful. Turned out a lot of women needed that kind of help. Emma returned to Stanford and finished her MBA with honors. She calls me every day. Our relationship, if anything, is stronger now. 6 months after the summit, on a cold January afternoon, I went to visit Margaret Kellerman at her estate in Winnetka. "How are you really doing?" she asked, pouring tea in her sunroom overlooking Lake Michigan. "Some days are good. Some days are hard," I admitted. "I keep thinking about what I missed, the signs I ignored, the times I chose to believe lies because the truth was too painful." "That's not weakness, Kathy. That's being human." "Did you ever?" I trailed off. "Did I ever experience betrayal like that?" "Yes, 40 years ago. My business partner and my sister. They did almost exactly what happened to you," she smiled sadly. "That's how I knew to believe you that night. When Monica was making her accusation, I looked at your face. You weren't shocked. You were ready. And I thought, that's a woman who knows what's coming and has a plan. I wanted justice. And you got it. But Kathy, don't let their betrayal define the rest of your life. You're 52. You have decades ahead of you. New friendships, maybe even new love, if you want it. I don't know if I can trust anyone again." "You will," Margaret said firmly, "because the alternative is letting them win. They took your money, your marriage, your friendship. Don't let them take your future, too." A year after that terrible summit, the Women's Leadership Organization invited me back, this time to receive the Humanitarian Award myself for my work helping women rebuild after betrayal. I almost didn't go. The memories were too raw. But Emma convinced me. "Mom, you have to. You have to show everyone that you're not just the woman who was betrayed. You're the woman who survived it and helped others survive it too." So I went. The ballroom looked the same. Different faces in the crowd, but the same elegant space where my life had exploded. When Margaret called my name and I walked to the stage, I felt Emma's eyes on me. Proud. Loving. And I thought about Monica in federal prison, her reputation destroyed, her marriage over, her life in pieces. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt sad. For both of us. For what we'd had and what she'd thrown away. "Thank you for this honor," I said into the microphone. "Many of you know my story. Some of you were here a year ago when my world fell apart very publicly. I'm not going to pretend that experience didn't nearly destroy me. It did. For months I couldn't sleep. Couldn't trust anyone. Couldn't imagine a future worth living." I paused, looking out at the attentive faces. "But here's what I learned. Betrayal tells you nothing about your worth and everything about the betrayer's character. When someone you love lies to you, steals from you, plans your destruction, that's not a reflection of your foolishness, it's a reflection of their moral bankruptcy. And you get to choose whether their choices define your future." After the ceremony, a woman approached me. She was about my age, well-dressed, with kind eyes. "Mrs. Morrison, I'm Jennifer Caldwell. I heard about what happened to you last year. My husband and my business partner were doing the same thing to me. I was about to confront them, but I didn't know how. Your story gave me courage. I went to the FBI. I gathered evidence, and I stopped them before they could destroy me." She hugged me, this stranger who wasn't a stranger at all. "Thank you," she whispered. "You saved my life." That's when I understood. This was why it had to happen publicly. This was why I couldn't just go to the police quietly. Because somewhere out there, other women were being betrayed too. And they needed to know they weren't alone. They needed to know they could fight back. They needed to know they could win. I never spoke to Monica or Michael again. Michael sent letters from prison, long rambling apologies that Emma screened and kept from me. Monica's attorney reached out once, asking if I'd write a letter to the parole board. I declined. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. And that's okay. I sold the house in Lincoln Park. Too many memories. I bought a condo overlooking the river with floor-to-ceiling windows and clean, modern lines. A fresh start. Emma graduated from Stanford and joined my firm. We work together now, mother and daughter, helping women protect themselves from the kind of betrayal I experienced. Sometimes clients ask me if I'm angry, if I hate Monica and Michael. The truth? I don't hate them. Hate would mean they still had power over me. I pity them. They destroyed their lives for money and momentary pleasure. They lost everything that mattered for things that didn't. And me? I lost a marriage and a friendship. But I found myself. On my 53rd birthday, Emma threw me a party. Small, intimate, a dozen women I'd met over the past year. New friends, real friends. Women who'd been through their own betrayals and come out stronger. We raised our glasses and Emma made a toast. To my mom, who taught me that loyalty is a virtue, but self-respect is essential. Who showed me that you can love people and still hold them accountable. Who proved that the best revenge is becoming the person you were always meant to be. "Here, here," the women echoed. I looked around the table at these faces. Different ages, different backgrounds, different stories, but connected by survival, by resilience, by refusing to let betrayal be the end of their stories. "Thank you all," I said, "for being here, for trusting me with your stories, for letting me be part of your journey." Later, after everyone had gone home, Emma and I sat on my balcony watching the city lights sparkle along the river. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Exposing them so publicly? Some people think you should have just gone to the FBI quietly." "Do you remember what your dad used to say?" I asked. "Don't make a scene. Handle things privately. Don't embarrass the family." Yeah, that's exactly how abusers maintain power. By convincing victims to stay quiet. To protect the abuser's reputation at the expense of their own justice. I'm done with that. What Monica and Michael did was public. They planned to humiliate me in front of 300 people. All I did was tell the truth before they could tell their lies. Emma leaned her head on my shoulder. "I'm proud of you, Mom, not just for fighting back, but for building something new after. A lot of people would have just been bitter." "Oh, I'm bitter sometimes," I admitted. "Some days I wake up and the first thing I think about is how much they hurt me. But then I get up, and I go to work, and I help someone protect their business from a dishonest partner, or I teach someone how to recognize financial abuse, and I remember why I'm still here. Why are you still here? I thought about that question. Really thought about it. Because every woman who walks into my office and says, "I think something's wrong, but I'm not sure," deserves to be believed. Every woman who says, "I feel crazy for suspecting my best friend," deserves validation. Every woman who says, "I don't know how to prove what I know is true," deserves help. I'm still here because I needed someone like me a year ago, and that person didn't exist, so I became her. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Do you think Monica ever thinks about you, about what she destroyed?" I hope so. Not because I want her to suffer, but because understanding the consequences of your choices is how you become a better person. Maybe in 7 years, when she gets out of prison, she'll be someone different, someone honest, someone capable of real friendship. I hope so. For her sake. Would you ever forgive her? That was the question, wasn't it? The one I'd been asking myself for a year. I don't know, I said honestly. Forgiveness isn't something you decide. It's something that happens or doesn't happen over time. Right now, I'm focused on building my new life. Maybe someday I'll have space for forgiveness. Maybe not. Either way, I'm going to be okay. And I was okay. More than okay, actually. Different, yes. Changed forever, certainly. But stronger, clearer, more authentically myself than I'd been in years. Because here's the secret they don't tell you about betrayal. It breaks you open, but what pours out isn't just pain. It's also truth. Truth about who you really are. What you really value. What you're really capable of enduring and overcoming. Monica and Michael thought they were destroying me that night at the summit. Instead, they freed me. And in a strange way, maybe I should thank them for that. Not today, maybe not ever. But someday, when enough time has passed and enough healing has happened, maybe I'll be able to see their betrayal as the catalyst that pushed me toward the life I was always meant to live. A life where I trust my instincts, protect my assets, choose my friends carefully, love with wisdom, not just passion. A life where I'm nobody's fool, nobody's victim, nobody's second choice. Just myself. Finally, completely, unapologetically myself. And that, I've discovered, is the sweetest revenge of all. Did you like my story? I'm listening from here in Chicago, where the winters are cold, but the women are colder to anyone who tries to betray them. Let's meet in the comments. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear where you're listening from and what lessons you've learned from your own experiences with trust and betrayal. Your support means everything to me, and it helps me bring you more stories like this one. Thank you for being here with me today. I have 2 more powerful stories on my channel that I think you'll love. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new story. See you next time. With love and respect from Auntie May.